Welcome to a Healthy Living video blog. You're watching us at workoutmaster.com. This is Ruben.
That is Aram.
Absolutely. Today we're going to talk about what your doctors don't tell you about C-sections.
Cesarean sections.
Let's tear this one apart.
Well, we're not going to tell you whether you should get a C-section or not because probably we won't be there, and it's not our job to do that. That's between you and your doctor, of course. And nowadays, more and more females, for various and different reasons, they're opting, of course, with the advice of the doctors, to get a C-section as a means of giving birth. But there's a few inherent problems to C-sections, and Aaron and I will do our very best to point out some of those things and how can you go about it to have a nice rebound in your health after the C-section.
Absolutely. Now, from our perspective, since we in the field of rehabilitation and we deal a lot of times with the pain, specifically back pain, it is very important to understand that when the doctor cuts your abdominal wall, there's a disconnect between how your muscles fire. Therefore, if the muscles don't fire properly, there's an instability in your core musculature, which when there's instability in core musculature, it actually can contribute to the back pain or any other pain for that matter. You can end up with a pain in your knees, in your ankles, up in the body, in the neck, and things of that sort.
That is correct. Oftentimes I use the analogy that is pretty similar, of course, of getting a C-section to pretty much taking an axe to a fuse box. You will hack it, and eventually what happens is that all the wires are going to be cut off and loose, and eventually you have to just patch them together. So you'll patch wires together, with no particular order, and when you go to flip a light switch, it might not turn on, or when you go turn on certain things, it might be off. So I use the same analogy when you try to fire those abdominal muscles and the body does not know how to respond because the nerve as well as the abdominal muscle tissue was cut off and it wasn't replaced properly where it had to go. Not that I think it be done with a neurologist on site.
Let's explain one thing for really quick because I don't think we went through this before. It is very important to understand why is it important, the core musculature and how it operates.
Oh.
So I'm going to really quickly tear this one apart for you. So when we refer to core, we say we have 3 layers of your abdominal wall musculature. Yeah. So first, the last one is a transverse abdominis. Your fibers go this way, so they go horizontal. Now, the other layers are called your internal, external obliques, and they're like 2 belts wrapping around. And the one on top is called your rectus abdominis. That's the one we generally see. Now, besides that, you have your pelvic floor muscles, you have your diaphragm, and you have your multifida muscles of your back. So when those muscles co-contract together, they create a pressure around very flexible spine, which in fact stabilizes the spine, and from the weakest joint in your body, it basically becomes the strongest joint in your body. Now, when somebody cuts through your abdominal wall, the muscles don't fire properly. Anytime muscles don't fire properly, that abdominal pressure mechanism doesn't work properly. Therefore, the spine ends up being unstable, and that what contributes to a lower back problem.
That is correct.
That's as fast as I can. If you need to understand it again, either you write me and I'll explain it again, or you'll listen to it again because I think I mentioned pretty much everything.
Or we can refer you to a pile of books that pretty much tell you the same thing with a lot more detail.
That's for sure.
True indeed. So oftentimes, women after they have given birth, in my earnest opinion, they have to go through a process of rehabilitation. And you say rehabilitation for, yes, rehabilitation for the abdominal wall because it's going to be completely shut off. And that can lead, like Aaron mentioned earlier, to a lot of back pain and a lot of joint dysfunction anywhere else in the body. From the top of your neck to your actual, the joints in your toes. So
from our perspective, if you get the C-section, you better have a very good reason to do it. Because if you do it, eventually you probably will have to spend quite a lot of time rehabilitating that particular C-section and integrating the muscles into fully functional core musculature.
Absolutely. It will be very difficult for you to actually support a nice, lean abdominal wall after having a C-section. The muscles, they don't know how to fire. They'll be completely, disassembled per se. and it's just not going to happen.
And the majority of the time, what we're going to see in ladies that actually try to rehabilitate, and they have like a 4-pack and then a little pouch underneath, because that's exactly where we lose the connection.
Yes, and one of the goals that a lot of women have after giving birth is to return to the normal body weight prior to getting pregnant. And they're gonna obviously engage in any form of exercise. So if they go jogging, which it will be probably one of the harshest one in the body at that point in time, or going back to the gym, or whatever form of movement and fun they have, they can actually fall prey of getting injured and really debilitating their bodies even further.
Now, if you ladies had a C-section, or you know somebody who had a C-section and wants to get a fully functional abdominal wall, the best place to go is refer them to a Czech practitioner, or you can find us on the internet, and we'll be happy to help you. Anything else that we want to say about it?
I think that's pretty much a narrow down. Obviously, there's many more things that we do while actually assessing a person, with this type of trauma, for the lack of a better word for it. But we do very comprehensive assessments where we evaluate what the person is as far as structural matters, and create a program that is specific for them and doesn't have to include sometimes very, very hard abdominal exercises. More than anything else will be exercises that are actually going to build the endurance and to reactivate the neuromuscular connection that has to be present for those muscles to fire properly.
Absolutely. I have nothing else for this episode.
Well, then
That's it, guys. Remember, your future looks better already. Without C-section, probably your future even better. And if you share this episode with somebody, their future is better too. Thank you very much for watching. Until the next time.
And tell them not to hesitate to post common questions, not only for future episodes that you might want to see, but only if they have any, but also if they have a specific questions of how to treat, the trauma that has been caused by a C-section. We can give you some very good pointers.
Absolutely. Later, guys.